everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Integrative Wellness Radio. I am here with Dr. Nick.
Hello, hello.
And we are going to be talking about how blood sugar affects the brain. As we move into February, we are kicking off all about the brain this month. So we have other podcasts to come that are really focusing on the brain and a lot of our cognitive function. We really feel passionate towards this because unfortunately there has been such a rise in depression, anxiety, and also everything from dementia to Alzheimer's. And I think that it is something that is becoming very scary for people because they're seeing it in their family and they're wondering, are they next? And I know that part of my personal journey, I had always had symptoms of hypoglycemia. And not that I knew it. I knew it obviously as I became more educated and I got into this world of integrative and functional medicine. And when I was dealing with, just finding my memory wasn't as good and I wasn't able to concentrate as well and kind of beat myself up that I wasn't able to excel as fast as my peers in school, I found myself thinking there was something wrong with me and not necessarily realizing that there were other pieces to the puzzle. One of them was actually mercury toxicity, which I'll touch upon shortly, but that had a lot to do with my massive fish consumption. Didn't know that all sushi was not created equal. But more importantly, it actually had a lot to do with the major instability in my blood sugar. And for me, I was more in this hypoglycemic state, and I'm going to go through the symptoms of that, but it really doesn't matter. It could be that you are hypoglycemic, hyper, meaning too much blood sugar or too much sugar in the blood, diabetic, either type 1 or type 2, meaning the autoimmune version or the acquired version, or you are developing something called insulin resistance. So again, we're going to expand upon what those mean. But the biggest key is for you to take away, do you have a blood sugar problem? Do you have cognitive effects because of the blood sugar problem? What can you do about it? And how can you start to see improvement? Got
Cool.
anything for us?
I would just like to add, let's talk about type 3 as well.
Yes. Well, what they're actually talking about in the research now, and Dr. Perlmutter was one of the physicians who wrote a paper about it most recently, is they're actually calling Alzheimer's and dementia potentially being type 3 diabetes.
Yep. All the research is saying type 3 diabetes and dementia are 100% correlated, which makes 100% sense. I mean, we'll take a step back, but give an overview. Really, type 3 diabetes is lifestyle brought on, blood sugar problems. That's too much sugar, and when we have that increase, that hyperglycemia, it actually has the opposite effect on the brain. So it's like increased sugar, decreased brain size, decreased brain size, increased inflammation. With that, a laundry list of things that actually start functioning improperly. But with that, you have all the signs and symptoms of dementia. So long story short is when your lifestyle brings on even beyond type 2, type 3 diabetes, you're going to have dementia.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, the brain does run on glucose. And something we actually talked about in our last podcast is that too much of anything is not a good thing. So when your brain runs on glucose, it's a very specific type of glucose, which I want to talk about the American diet and the sugar that's hidden in a lot of our foods. But if you have this overabundance of glucose that cannot be used properly, which comes back to insulin, then that's where your problem lies. And like Dr. Nick said, you're going to have this neurodegeneration. So with that being said is, yes, glucose is important, but it can become a problem in excess if other pathways are not working properly. But before we go into that, I want to kind of establish a foundation here because first of all is you might be listening to this and say, I can relate to feeling really foggy and having some cognitive issues and having memory loss, but I don't eat sugar. I don't eat a lot of sugar. I never have. So how could I have type 3 diabetes? And part of that is it comes back to the pancreas. And your pancreas can dysfunction not necessarily because of too much sugar, but because of other problems in your gastrointestinal system, which again, we're going to touch on.